Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is the newest game in the Rune Factory series. This game takes a lot of risks, and it definitely does some things that are a little bit risque. But do these risks pay off? Let's dive into today's video and find out. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the different aspects of Guardians of Azuma, what I like, what I don't like, and who I think this game is for and who it's not for. And because this game is a spin-off of a spin-off, you can definitely really tell that the focus is a lot different than you might think. So my first impressions of Guardian of Azuma, they were actually really, really good. The graphics, everything looks really good on the Switch too. The characters, they all have really cool character designs. Getting to know them is really cool. The only slight bad thing about my initial first impressions of the game were that the intro is really, really long. And in addition to that, you have this whole long intro where you meet the characters and you get to know them a little bit. And then after you get to know them, they introduce themselves to you again once you get the village up and running. And so to me, that was a little bit weird. Like, why are these characters introducing themselves to me again for a second time, like we've never met before? Especially because you're supposed to have lived in this village for a period of time before the game starts. So yeah, that was just a little bit weird to me personally. As I said in the beginning, this game is a spin-off of a spin-off, so the gameplay is a lot different than it is in past games. And I'm going to talk about the different aspects and how it's different. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, I would say that the gameplay is actually split into mostly just three different aspects. The first aspect is, of course, the action RPG aspects of the game. The second aspect is the social aspects. You're going to be talking to the different villagers and getting to know them and going on adventures with them. And then the third part is the town management. You're going to be building towns, managing your villagers, and that type of thing. I'm also going to be talking about the farming aspects just because, I feel like my channel is mostly focused on farming sims. So I definitely have to talk about the farming aspect of this game as well. But the funny thing about Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is that I personally wouldn't even call it a farming sim. For those of you guys who have played Harvestella, that game was like action RPG slash farming sim because, your farm is still kind of an important part of the game. But in Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, it's like you kind of get introduced to farming, but then almost immediately you get this way to just automate everything. And yeah, even if you wanted to focus on farming, it's not really a huge aspect of the game. And there's not really much reason to really focus on the farming a lot. So yeah, if you're going into this game hoping for a farming sim first and then the other things kind of on the side, then Guardians of Azuma, it's probably not going to be for you. Yeah, there's farming, but farming is such a small aspect of this game. So yeah, the farming in this game is automated and it's also everything is very streamlined. And that's actually something that I'm going to say for almost all of the aspects of Guardians of Azuma is that everything in this game, it just feels like it has been streamlined so much. And in my opinion, maybe sometimes a little bit too much. I was a really big fan of Harvestella when I first played it because everything is kind of a little bit more automated and it's a little bit more smooth and simple to do than a lot of other farming sims. But Guardians of Azuma, it takes that and brings it to the next level. In this game, very quickly, it switches from a farming sim action RPG to a action RPG slash town sim. Very quickly in the game, you start to manage the villagers in the town, and you also get to determine which buildings are in your town, the different decorations in your town, just like a ton of different things like that. And that's how your farm gets automated. So what about the other main aspect of the game, which is the battle system? If you're going to be playing this game, you better like or at least be okay with action RPGs, because in this game, you're going to be running around with the different party members that you have in your team, and you're going to be fighting monsters like all the time. If you want to unlock all of the different parts of this game, you definitely have to do a lot of battling, a lot of exploring the world, and that type of stuff. Now, of course, all of the Rune Factory games, they all are action RPGs, and this game is no exception. If you buy Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, you better be expecting a action RPG because yeah, that's really the focus of this game. And I have to say that the action RPG part of this game is the one aspect that's not really like super streamlined. Like you're still running around, you're still fighting the monsters, you're still exploring and that type of thing. Whereas all the other aspects like, farming and the social aspects and the fishing and all those things. They're really streamlined. Even like mining and getting wood, like you can just make the villagers in your town do those things. But yeah, the one thing that you're definitely going to have to do is the action RPG parts where you run around with your party, you fight the monsters, and you discover new things. Now, of course, if you know me, if you've seen my past videos, you know that the one thing that I really like about these games, and probably the main reason why I bought Guardians of Azuma in the first place right at launch, was because of the social aspects of it. Now, the social aspects of it, I would say that they were kind of at the forefront of a lot of the promotion for Guardians of Azuma. If you watched the live stream, it was a big focus. If you see the ads for the different bachelors and the different bachelorettes, if you look at the DLC, everything's kind of pushing that kind of like fan service aspect of the game to the fans. And how does it actually hold up in the game? For me personally, this is one aspect of the game that, if I had to say, I was just ever so slightly disappointed in. On the whole, it's really, really good, and I do like it. But as I said about the other aspects, it is kind of streamlined, and it's streamlined a little bit too much for my personal taste. As you go through the story, you're going to meet the different marriage candidates, the bachelors and the bachelorettes, and then a short while after, you're able to talk to them, and they're going to be able to do other social things with them as well. And this, to me, was one of the aspects I was looking forward to the most, so my expectations were really high for this aspect of the game. But then actually, once you start playing it, it just goes by so fast that for me, it's almost a little bit too fast. So in most farming sims, you'll go to the character that you like, you'll talk to them, and then maybe you'll give them a gift, and then that's the end of it. But in Guardians of Azuma, you'll talk to them, and then instead of giving them a gift, what you're going to do is you're going to go into this menu, and you're going to have 4 different options of different things that you can do with them. But I do have to say that in general, all of these options, they just go by like that. Some of them are just, talk to them about a specific thing, and then it just, bam, you get like one extra line of dialogue, and then it's over. Even the ones where you can go different places with them, it's over like, in the snap of a finger. I mean, I guess they did it like that because if you want to become friends with all the different characters, they wanted it to be very streamlined and fast and not kind of like a hassle. But for me, it's a little bit disappointing for the characters that I want to get to know better and I want to spend a bit more time with them. Most of the options, they just go by so quickly that me personally, I was a little bit disappointed in that. Now, as you go further and you know them better, there are certain longer scenes. But yeah, they're kind of few and far between. I guess for me, because I'd played Coral Island before, there's like a really cute like montage once you go on dates with the different characters where you get to see you and the marriage candidate do a bunch of whole different things. And I thought that was really cool. So I guess I was kind of expecting that in this game, Guardians of Azuma. But yeah, it's basically just like you walk with the character to the waterfall and then bam, it's just over like before it even starts. And then there's just a time skip and then bam, it's over. So yeah, me personally, I was expecting just a tiny bit more from those scenes. But overall, I do have to say that I do really like the social aspect of Guardians of Azuma. But me personally, I was expecting just a tiny bit more. So what is my final verdict? Who is this game for and who is it not for? Well, you guys who are watching my videos, you probably are fans of farming sims. And if you only like farming sims and you don't really like action RPGs, I would actually say that Guardians of Azuma is probably not for you. Because yeah, the farming is such a small aspect of this game. And I guess it kind of makes sense because Guardians of Azuma is a spin-off of a spin-off. And so, yeah, the farming aspects of it, they're getting more and more pushed to the background. So, yeah, if you're somebody who is farming sim first and then you just kind of like other aspects around it, then yeah, Guardians of Azuma is probably not for you. Now, for those of you who like dating sims, maybe you liked the social aspects of Fire Emblem Three Houses, or just in general the social aspects of farming sims, how does Guardians of Azuma stack up? Well, I have to say, in this aspect, it still is really good. I know I just spent some time complaining about it, but I think that was just because my expectations were too high. In general, I do really think that the social aspects of this game are really fun, and the marriage candidates, they're really cool. And there's also a lot of NPCs for you to meet, and you can also get to know them better. And yeah, you unlock different bonuses as you get to know the different characters. And even with the side characters, I feel like there's a lot of really cool ones. I really like that you can become friends with a lot of the different people in the town, some of the kids, some of the older people, even some people who are around your age that honestly, I don't really know why they're not marriage candidates. But yeah, I think the social aspect of this game is still really quite good. If you are looking for a game that's kind of like Three Houses or a farming sim where you have the dating aspect, I think Guardians of Azuma is actually really good for you. So yeah, if you're in it for farming sims, probably not for you. But if you're in it for the social aspect, then yeah, I think the social aspect of this game is still good enough that you should play it just for that. Now, me personally, I do have to say that I'm not really the hugest fan of the Rune Factory series in general. I've actually played so many Rune Factory games on the Wii, on the DS, on the Switch. Like, I've really given this series chance after chance. And I actually would not say that I enjoyed any of the previous Rune Factory games that I've played. Mostly because I'm not really a huge fan of action RPGs, just, full stop. And a lot of the past games, they also had art styles that I wasn't really a huge fan of. I like the Story of Seasons, the Harvest Moon, that type of style. And so for me, I'd always preferred Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons games to the Rune Factory series, even though for some reason I just keep playing the Rune Factory games, even though I've never really had that much fun with any of them. But I do have to say that Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, of all of the Rune Factory games that I've ever played, Guardians of Azuma is my favorite, like by far, like absolutely no question. For me, the biggest thing of why I like Guardians of Azuma is, well, the social aspects, but then also the town management. I really like that aspect of it as well. I really like games like Civilization and, when I was younger, like SimTown and, games like that where, you kind of manage a town instead of just your farm or, just your house. So for me, I really like that Guardians of Azuma is kind of taking the series in a completely different direction. When the game was announced, I kind of was wondering why it was called Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma instead of, Rune Factory 6. But after playing the game, I definitely can see why. Because, yeah, this game, it takes a lot of risks. It changes a lot of different things. And I feel like on the whole, this game actually succeeds in most things that it tries to do. But yeah, for me personally, as I said in the beginning of the video, it does streamline things a little bit too much and a little bit too early for my personal taste. I kind of wish it focused a little bit more on farming. If this game focused a little bit more on farming, then it probably to me would be like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. But right now, for me, I'm not done with the game, but I definitely would probably say that it's around like an 8 out of 10 for me. I really like it, love the characters, and I'm having a blast with it. But yeah, I wouldn't quite put it up there with like my absolute, favorite best farming sims or, best games that I've ever played. I definitely wouldn't put it quite on that list, but I am having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how you guys are enjoying Guardians of Azuma, or, if you guys haven't played it yet, did this video convince you one way or the other? Please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.